Hello to whoever may be watching this. This is supposed to be an intro to batting. Whether you're a new player who is trying to learn how to hit, or an old player who's just trying to go back to the basics and fix your swing. The first thing I'm going to talk about is timing, since I think that timing is probably the most important thing in batting in general. So let's just get into it. So you want to swing when the ball is about right there. Right in between that line where the dirt and the grass meet. That's like the perfect spot where you want to let go of right click so you can actually hit the ball. Now, I actually ended up popping this one up, but it's not because of my timing, it's just because of where I was looking. Now, this is another thing that I wanted to talk about, which is where you stand in the batter's box. Where I'm standing right now is a pretty beginner stance. It's pretty much like a default stance. A lot of people use it, some people who are new, some people who have been playing for a long time, and I think it's a pretty good stance. Now, ultimately, where you stand doesn't really matter, it's kind of personal preference, but although minor, there are some perks to certain stances. Now, I'm going to speed up the video a little bit here so I can show you where to look when you're batting. Now, this is kind of the default place to look at. A lot of people look here. But it doesn't really matter where you look before you swing. What really matters is where your crosshair is when you actually let go of right click. This is another example of places to look. It's just slightly to the right. This is another example, which is even more to the right, and this one actually helps you a lot with outside pitches because you're already looking outside, so it makes it easier to see those pitches. This is another area to look, which actually helps a lot with the low pitches. It gives you a lot of power with low pitches if you can execute it right. The only problem with this stance is that if they pitch anything high, you're not really going to be able to see it that well. Okay, so now I'm actually going to get into actually hitting the ball, and I'm going to explain why this was a pop-up. So the reason this was a pop-up is because not only did I swing a little tiny bit late, but I'm way under the ball. If you can see, my crosshair is way under the ball. So obviously when I swing, the ball's just going to go way up. A lot of people have problems with flicking downward, and that's why they hit a lot of pop-ups, because they flick down and then they end up being below the ball when they swing, and it just goes straight up. Now here, I was super late, and I just completely swung and missed. So if you're having problems with just completely missing the ball, it's a possibility that you're late. And if you can see, the ball's already way past me by the time that I swung, and that's why I didn't hit it. I was just late. Now, not only did I pop this one up, but I also hit it Oppo, and I want to explain why I hit it Oppo. So, if you didn't know, hitting it Oppo gives you the least power, so it's just going to be a super weak contact hit. And the reason I hit it Oppo is because the ball is outside, but that's not the only reason. It's also because, I don't know if you saw, but I also flicked outside, which just that combined makes you hit it opposite field. So this is another example of a stance that you can use. This one eliminates the inside part of the zone, so it makes it really easy to hit inside pitches, but you kind of struggle with outside pitches because, they're just too far for you to hit. Now, I fouled this ball almost straight back, and the reason for that is because I was just super late. I don't know if you can see, but it almost hit me by the time I actually hit the ball. And on top of that, I flicked super low and outside at the last second, so that just made me foul it almost straight back. So now we're going to speed it up a little bit so I can tell you about contact hitting. So the reason for this being called a contact hit is because I just swung way too early. It comes off my bat really slow, it barely makes into the outfield, and you're pretty much just hitting for contact when you swing this early. And now you can see how important timing really is in this game, because this swing wasn't even that much earlier than any of the other swings. It was maybe like a millisecond earlier, but it made that much of a difference on how hard I hit the ball. So now we're going to speed it up again so that I can show you guys this hit right here. Now, I want to explain why this was a home run. So the reason it's a home run is because, as you can see, I swung at the perfect time. So I had perfect timing. My crosshair was right to the bottom right of the ball, which is exactly where you want it to be, because if it's to the bottom right of the ball, you're going to hit it pull side, and that gives you a lot more power. So those things combined basically made that go over the wall. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind that these were only 4 seams. This was only one pitch in the entire game. So you're going to have to do this, but with 20-something different pitches. But if you really want to get better, get batting practice from some of your teammates, or ask people who are better than me.